everybody? It's your 5-star realtor Joshua Ingram, partnered with Page Properties team, brokered by EXP. We're on another episode of the brand new podcast called the Dream Builders Podcast. Right now, we have a special guest, Rebekah Mcleod with Miracle Press Book. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad to be here with you guys.
Awesome. And I cannot forget the man, the myth, and the legend, my partner Bradford Page, with Page Properties team.
Always good to see you, Rebekah. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, look forward to learning about you.
Listen, we have so much information for y'all today. Me and Rebekah have a great relationship, and we're going to actually discuss what does she do. So, Miss Rebekah, can you share a little bit about your journey as an author, storyteller, and songwriter?
I would love to. Again, just so glad to be here with you guys. I love the name of this podcast. I love the concept. Dreams are what makes the world go round, right?
For sure.
So my journey actually begins with music. I was actually a songwriter first, and I did 2 albums of original music, and that's kind of a story in itself because I really didn't see myself as a songwriter. But one day, a song came into my head, and I thought, well, maybe I'll write it down.
Yeah.
And I put it under my bed for 6 months, and then didn't share it with anybody. And then about 6 months later, it began to play again. I thought, well, I'll pull it out. I played the song for my husband. I was a pianist, and he said, "Wow, that's really good." And I was like, "Really?" Because when you first write something, you don't know if it's good or not.
For sure. I'm not a rapper or anything.
I have a whole book of rock.
Now. Listen, I'm ready for it. I'm ready to get that album.
So I pulled it out. He was like, "That's really good." And so. I can't remember where I was. I was at a concert and I saw this an advertisement for a God song competition because I wrote it was Christian music that I was writing. Okay. And so I entered it. I ended up winning first place and 10 free hours of studio time at a premier studio in Rockville, Maryland. And I had never stepped foot in a studio before. I was terrified. I mean, I was like, how did this even happen?
Big old microphone.
Yeah, just the big microphone. and next thing you know, the right people started coming to my life. I had to put a band together, and these were incredible musicians. So I was able to produce kind of an EP first, and then a couple of years later, a full-length album. And I did that for 7 years. That was kind of it was a great phase of my life. I kind of toured regionally. We were living in the DC area at the time. Anyway, I was getting into some interesting things. I had a manager. I had a movie deal on the table, and I found out I was pregnant with our 4th child. It was very unexpected.
Wow.
In fact, so unexpected. My husband had a vasectomy 9 years before.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
so this was definitely not part of it.
No, this was not.
It was planned, though.
But they say, we make plans and God laughs, right?
For sure, yeah.
So, but I did experience a really bad postpartum depression after that, after giving birth to our daughter in 2011. And I kind of quit everything for a while. I really needed to recover. And part of my recovery was I began to write. I would write in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep. I had a friend who was writing a blog, and she just encouraged me, why don't you start, just get serious about this. So I did, and I started a blog called Monday's Muse, and every Monday I would kind of exercise that writing muscle. I would learn how to observe my life, and many of the posts were very funny because my life was crazy at the time. I had 4 kids in all different ages and stages. I had a high school that was graduating high school. I had a middle schooler, I had an elementary student, and then I had a brand new baby. So
you had all
it was chaos, and then I had 2 crazy dogs and a couple crazy cats. It was nuts.
Yeah.
So it was just it was a way of me coping with the stress of my life, and it led to me publishing my first book in 2016, which I called The Secret Life of a Doctor's Wife. My husband is an Army doctor. He was an Army doctor, retired in 2016.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Yeah, and it's Veterans Day today, so yeah, thank you all of you who are watching who are veterans. We so appreciate your sacrifice.
For sure.
So I wrote the book, published the book, and I have to say, I've done a lot of writing in my life for free, but I didn't actually become a paid writer until a couple of years ago. And sometimes it really, people say it's who you know, and there's always that moment where you get your break, and it's somebody believed in you, somebody saw what you could do, and said, I want to bring you to this person. And that's what happened to me. I got a job as a magazine writer for 6 markets in Georgia. It was a huge break for me. And then one thing led to another, and now I am, surprisingly, it wasn't part of my plan, but I'm now the co-founder of a publishing company, Miracle Press Books, and I'm continuing to write my own things. I just released my 3rd book, about to release my 3rd book, which is a devotional.
Awesome. That's a great story.
Long story.
This thing is getting started. So, how did you become involved with Miracle Press Book?
That's a great question. I met a wonderful lady named Emma Smith who has the biggest heart of anyone I've ever met. We've become very dear friends, and she had this nonprofit called the International School of Story. which is really about bringing hope to communities through the power of story. Story is so powerful. I mean, stories really build our lives. They shape our destinies. The stories we tell ourselves shape our destinies, and our cultures are built on stories.
Yeah.
So we believe, and she and I just had a meeting of minds where it's like we believe that stories are very important. And there's so many people we found that had stories to tell, but didn't have the confidence. They didn't have the resources, or they just didn't know how to start, because the publishing industry is so fraught with pitfalls. I mean, it's very overwhelming. If you're like, oh, I want to publish a book, and you go online, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
There's a million ways to do it. There's a million companies out there, and there's a lot of people that will take advantage of you. For example, I just met with a lady recently. She published a book, and her publisher told her that she should have 1,500 copies on hand in a warehouse. So she spent untold thousands of dollars, which I don't even know if this book exists.
So he wasn't providing 1,500.
No,
she bought them.
She had to purchase.
She bought them. So that's just one small example of all the ways that you can take advantage of in this field. So Emma and I, both of us as self-published authors, were like, we know the pitfalls. We've done it ourselves. Let's help. Let's come along and let's help other people. Let's help not just take their stories, but let's find. Some of them don't even know what their stories are. They know I have a story. And I may have all these stories, but what is the message? What is the through line of my story? So we do coaching, we do ghostwriting for those who, we have several doctors, busy ladies who want to write a book, but they just don't have the margin of the time.
Yeah.
So we take them and we do interviews and we do ghostwriting. So we want to be, our goal is to be a one-stop shop for people who have a story and want to actually have an excellent product in their hand at the end of the day.
That's awesome. And that's why it's Miracle Gold.
So I had a wonderful opportunity when y'all had your grand opening. We didn't really know each other. I went there to represent Gilliard and Company, and like to support grand openings of nonprofits. So that's how I ended up coming down there. And I loved what you guys had to say, because you were built around everybody has a story. Let us help you tell yours. And that is so true. So tell us about that and where you were, where you've come, and how that's all working.
Like I said, I didn't really have any, that wasn't in my plan to start a publishing company, but it was always a dream of Emra's to let this be part of her nonprofit, to have a publishing company. And she came to me and said, what do you think? And I was like, I don't really have time, I don't know this, but I said, okay, let's give it a shot. So we started planning, and the more we planned, the more excited I became about it. And I really believe that where we find our greatest meaning and purpose in life is at the intersection of our gifts and the world's need. So if we can identify what is my gift, and a lot of people think, well, I'm not creative. No, that's not true. The very first 5 words of the Bible are, in the beginning, God, what did he do?
He created.
He created.
Yeah.
So everyone, if we are all made in God's image, and there's something that we do that is unique, that is special. So if we can identify that gift, and if we can intersect it at the point of a real need, that is where the greatest meaning in work is found. So that's what I found in this work, is that it's utilizing my gifts of I'm a natural coach, I'm a natural encourager, I love to write, I love to help people be creative. So I get to do all those things, and then see people. I'm a midwife of sorts. I get to see people birth those dreams and see them come to pass. And the joy of that is amazing.
For sure, especially for like a first-time book writer.
Yes.
Seeing their faces like, wow, I'll be the first person in my family to write a book.
That's right. And dreams are heavy things to carry alone.
Yeah.
It's heavy to carry. And when someone comes, and I know you probably have many dreams, but when someone says, I see your dream and I want to invest in your dream, it's incredibly encouraging.
For sure.
Yeah, so I love being able to come along some sides. I see the gift you have. I see the talent that's there. I see this story is important. It's time now to let the story come out. So that's really the underbelly of what we do, is we're encouraging people to realize their dreams, and to not, we're cheerleaders. We're like, come on.
For sure.
Come on, time to get back to the writing. Let's do it.
So what does your creative process look like when you develop a new story?
I believe in organic process, and there are people that would probably disagree with me. There are lots of writers who have processes that are very organized, and they make very detailed outlines, and that works, especially in fiction. I mean, we do a lot of nonfiction. It's mainly what we're focusing on. And for me, if you're telling a story, sometimes, first of all, I think if you sit down and go, I'm going to write a book, it can feel very overwhelming. I'm going to write a book. Do I need to start at the beginning? Do I need to, what all do I want in there? So for me, when I am, and I do the same thing with my clients I do for my own writing. Like I'm working on a memoir right now. I'll sit down and brainstorm, okay, what are 50 events, 50 things that happened? Like I'm writing a memoir about a 5-year period of my life that was really difficult. So I just brainstorm 50 things that happen and that I want to include in the story.
Yeah.
And then when I get up in the morning to sit down to write, I might not be ready to talk about this because it's kind of traumatic, but I might be like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to tackle this today. So it gives me this flexibility that depending on where I am in the day, because some days I'm not going to feel like hitting those really hard points, but some days I will. I'll be like, okay, I'm going in hard today. We talked about daylight savings. After daylight savings, you don't go in hard.
Yeah. It's been a long way.
You stay light. You keep it light.
For sure.
So I build when I work with my clients and they're doing a memoir or an autobiography. I say, okay, let's just build these pieces separately, and then we can begin to put them together and organize them in a way that is a good narrative. So that's kind of how we start.
That's awesome.
Brainstorming.
So, what advice would you give to an aspiring author, storyteller, songwriter who's looking to pursue a career in creative arts?
Well, one of my favorite statements is from Van Gogh. Vincent Van Gogh said, if you hear a voice telling you to paint or not to paint, then by all means paint, because then that voice will be silenced.
That's deep.
So
That's deep.
if you hear a voice saying, "Oh, don't write. It's not important. Don't tell your story. It doesn't matter," then that's probably a sign that you need to do it. So follow that resistance, because usually, I mean, everyone that's sat down to write that I've worked with, they have met with major resistance. There's something powerful about our story.
Yeah.
And there are forces that don't want us to tell it. So it's very important, I think, to surround yourself with encouragers. In any creative field, surround yourself with encouragers. Don't bring your dreams to dream killers. There's so many dream killers out there. Don't bring your dreams. Be very careful with those dreams. And I would say, don't give up. I mean, just don't quit. That is the main thing. So many people die with unmet dreams. They say the grave is the richest place on earth, because think about all the unmet talents, unused talents.
For sure.
Don't quit. Keep going. And eventually, I believe there's room for all of us in the world. We say it's very tempting to compare. That's the other thing I would say. Don't be jealous. Don't compare yourself with anyone else, because you have something unique that no one else has.
Yeah.
So really stay focused on what it is you have to do. Don't look to the right or the left, and really get that team of cheerleaders that can pick you back up when you fall.
That's awesome.
Great advice.
What you were saying, like, everybody has a story, and I feel like there's not a lot of people sharing their stories, because their story might be part of their purpose. Because when they get that story out, what life they can change for that other person that reads about it. And again, Miracle Gold Press. It's awesome. I'm telling y'all, today is the day.
Yeah.
So, I have another question for you.
Okay.
How does collaboration with Miracle Press books enhance and influence your creative work?
Wow. Well, for one thing, I can't tell people to do something I'm not doing myself. So I can't come along and say, Josh, you really should tell your story, if I'm not telling my own.
It's true.
So I think what it does is it holds me accountable to be a good steward of my own stories. It definitely helps me to continue to hone when it comes to technique, to hone the writing process, to find ways to encourage people better, to find ways to work around like I said, the blocks that come and the hindrances that come. Again, there's just so many things in life. As soon as you sit down to write, it's like all hell breaks loose. The dog vomits on the rug.
Yeah.
The phone starts ringing off the hook.
Yeah.
It's just like it's weird. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense, but it just happens for all of my writers. It's like I really set out to do this week, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. So we just have to be so tenacious, and I think it's helped me to realize that I have to be equally as tenacious. So if I'm going to encourage other people to do that, I got to start with me.
Yeah,
Isn't there a great benefit too when you're writing, whether you're writing a book or writing a journal, but just putting things down, because you have to get quiet. You have to shut off some of those outside influences and get inside yourself and put that down there. And so creating that time is a huge value. And then the other thing that I want to say, I've got a friend right now, he's not writing a book, but I've encouraged him. He's been through a lot in his life, and I've encouraged him that you're actually writing a book every day when you wake up. It's just that book, you're not putting it on paper.
Yeah.
And if you feel moved and you want to go ahead and put something on paper, do it, because that is your life. And Joshua hit it right on the head when he was talking about people needing to share that, and your gifts. Oftentimes we overlook them, and we can provide that gift to somebody. That's really your gift to the world and to everybody out there. So
It is.
to keep those stifled is just
Exactly.
not good.
So stories, I think, build bridges. well, I should say, one of the greatest quotes, Glennon Doyle Melton said that gifts build bridges into other people's hearts. So when you tell a story, I mean, I know there have been films that have impacted me that have stayed with me for weeks, and I'm sure you too.
Yeah.
It's part of why I'm sure you love that creative field, is that there's stories that just stick with you and that change you, that change your dream, that change your destination. So when someone's willing to get up and share something vulnerably, it really has a life-altering power to it. And I think, again, there are forces that tell us, well, either you're the only one that's experienced this and nobody else has, which is a lie. If we can get beyond that fear, I think the change that we can enact is so much bigger than we even realize. I know for myself, there's been pivotal moments in my life where someone told a story and I was like, you came here to tell that for me today. That I needed to hear that exact narrative today. So it's such a powerful thing. There's such resistance against it, and yes, our stories are being written. And it's not always the right time to write your story. That's the other thing.
Right.
You know, I have clients that come to me and they'll tell me something and I'm like, you know what? I feel like you're in the middle of something. You're in the middle of a great story, but you haven't seen the end yet. So just hang tight.
Right.
So some narratives are in the middle and we just have to kind of wait and see how it
folds.
how the cards fall.
Awesome. So are there lessons you learned along the way that you wish you had learned earlier in your career?
You got some challenging questions.
Hey man, listen, I've been prepared for the Dream Builders podcast, you know?
I think the part about jealousy, I remember when I was a musician, and I was playing the piano and I was starting to write songs. My husband took me to see Ling Ling, the incredible Chinese pianist, at the Kennedy Center in DC. And when I saw this man play, I swear he had just flames coming off his hands. It was just like, it was just astounding. And I thought, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna push my piano off the balcony of the back of the townhouse. I'm just gonna push it off. I don't know if you've ever felt that level of just like, I could never, you know. And so I think if we can really refocus in those moments rather than giving into that feeling of like, oh, I quit, I could never be that good, but really refocusing and realizing that what I have to bring to the table is important. It's unique. There's nobody that has the exact package of skills and gifts that I do. Even though other people may seem to in certain areas, it's different. It's uniquely me. So I think that's a process of growing up and becoming aware of your worth as a person. And I definitely have struggled with that over the years. I think a lot of creatives struggle with self-worth issues. I think we tend to be very sensitive individuals. We tend to be very introspective people.
In comparison, like you said.
Yes, and we're very perfectionistic.
Yeah.
You know, people who are good at their craft, they tend to be very hard on themselves.
That's true.
And they tend to be very hard. Thank you for admitting that.
For real. I'd be hard on myself.
Yeah,
for real.
and sometimes even a book, you know, there's never really a time when you're like, okay, this book is done. It's you could literally edit a book for the rest of your life and it never be done. And I'm sure same with a film. At some point you got to go, okay, this is good enough. It may not be like perfect, but it's good enough.
Right. Well, that's why I have second editions and third editions.
True.
You know,
So,
things change.
Yeah, I think so. The lesson is let good enough be enough. That's the lesson I wish I would have learned earlier, but I'm still learning.
Yeah, that's awesome. So are there upcoming projects or work in your progress that you're particularly excited about?
Yes, we have so many great projects on the horizon right now. Well, first of all, I don't know when this is going to be published, but we have a great event coming up a week from Saturday, Books, Bites, and Blues, down at 2204 Skidaway Road. That's Marigold Press Books' home at Abode Studios on Skidaway Road. So please bring your families out. It's going to be a great day. Live music, food. I mean, books, music, and food. Is there anything like?
Yeah,
what's better?
And if we don't get this out to you in time, I hope you had a good time.
No pressure, Josh. But we do have some great book projects on the horizon for 2024. We have several memoirs happening. We have a cookbook. I guess I'm okay to say this. One of the great local chefs, and I won't reveal who it is, but he's actually putting out a cookbook that highlights the suppliers. He's got people all over that just bring him things. Like there's a couple who they grow these oyster mushrooms in their garage and they just bring them to him and he takes those things and then they inspire new recipes for his restaurant. So he wants to highlight these everyday people who are just cultivators who like to grow just for fun.
Yeah.
So we're working on that. We have let me think. There's so many great things in store for this year. We literally have a list of 20 authors. So we published, our goal this year was to publish 6 books. We're gonna finish the year at 7. And the next year our goal is 12. So this is only the end of our first year of business. So we're new.
Wow.
So next year we're shooting for 12. We really believe we're gonna outdo that. But yeah, most of what we're working on is nonfiction memoir. We have some devotionals, and we have a couple of cookbooks in the works so far.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I got one more.
And then we have Josh's books too. Book 2 that's coming.
It's coming soon. I ain't gonna let y'all know yet. Like we talked about earlier, I may be in the middle of my journey,
we're a long ways from
But Rebekah, I got one question for you.
Okay.
How can the people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so our publishing website is marigoldpressbooks.org. You can reach out to us on Gmail, the same thing, marigoldpressbooks@gmail.com. Send us an email. I'm trying to think what else. We're on Facebook. We're on mainly Facebook and Instagram, Marigold Press Books. So yeah, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
And your location?
Location is Abode Studios, 2204 Skidaway Road. We do free consultations, so there's no need to pay. If you just want to say, hey, I think I have a story, can I get some feedback on it? We'd love to meet with you.
Awesome. And again, the Dream Builders Podcast, our mission is to help buyers, sellers, and small businesses reach the resource and knowledge to help others reach their goals. Miss Rebekah, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Again, this podcast is sponsored by Page Properties Team, TheDream E.N.T, Real Estate for a Reason, and Make Real Estate Fun Again. This is our special guest, Rebekah Mcleod with Miracle Press Books. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebekah. That was awesome.
Appreciate
it.
Remember to always attack every day with greatness. I catch you on the next episode. Peace.